Hey everyone. If you hear any noise in the background, it's basically because, well, it's Mother's Day weekend, of course, and this family's visiting. But it's also the fact that it's prom night here in Patterson, so you're gonna have a mixture of a lot of things. Like I said, it's Mother's Day weekend, people are visiting, probably doing Mother's Day today, probably doing a whole weekend's worth of it. And of course, you got prom night, which basically means right now kids of Patterson High or in Modesto, probably on the way back in a little while, and then it might get a little bit more rowdy. And I do apologize if I seem a little out of it, a little tired. I've had one heck of a past 24 something hours, if you will. Let me explain. You see, yesterday I did a 12:30 to 9 schedule. Now you may not think that's a bad thing, and technically it's not. But try coping with that by adding that the start of your new work week has you coming in 5:30 a.m. and working until 1:30. On top of that, add the fact that when you come home, you have your nephews there, and the person you live with, whether it's your wife or your mom or whatever, is asking you after their work day, and yes, maybe their work is a little bit more distantable, in other words, a little further in distance. They're asking you to set up the bed for the kids, probably get them in the shower, or get them ready to take a shower, just a few things here and there. And you know for certain that you got to get some rest. Now, needless to say, I didn't get much rest. As a matter of fact, I'm one of those people that if you give me this kind of a schedule, yeah, I'll sleep, but it'll be hard for me to do, seeing as though I got to be up almost like 8, 7, 6 hours later. It's almost like you're saying, hey, come on home, say hi to your folks, say I'm back, had a good day, oh, and by the way, good night. It doesn't really work with people like me. Now, suffice to say that I did make it through the day is one thing. Suffice to say that. Anyway, yeah, that's why I'm doing this video right now. One, because I rested for a little bit finally. Two, my mom is actually, I don't know if she's still in the Bay Area or she's on her way back, visiting my grandma, her mom, in Hayward. And three, it's very rare that I have a Saturday evening to be able to do these things on. Anyway, I know I say anyway a lot there, so I apologize. What is the topic of this video? Well, if you look above and you look below, you kind of get the idea. You know, I watched Animat's recent 2-part video on Blimp, which was the top 10 controversial cartoons. And he broke it down by giving a category. He basically broke it down. It's sort of almost like a top 10 most wanted list. Almost. And he did not exclude anybody. He did not exclude any animation media, whether it was film, television, whatever. He targeted them all. And he chose basically the top 10 that he felt were the most controversial, really caused basically a ruckus. And he showed some clips of certain shows that he didn't talk about, but kind of fell in that category of controversial. Now, he brought up Disney, I think, maybe once or twice. Of course, once with the Song of the South. Anyway, long story short, he basically put together a very decent list with the number one category being, I think, what was known as the Censored 11 or something like that. Basically, the 11 animated shorts that, when United Artists obtained the rights to them, each of these shorts, of course, distributed back in the day by Warner Brothers and MGM, and done by people like Tex Avery and Bob Clampett and whatever. United Artists basically took these 11 films and basically locked them up, banished them from being ever seen again. Now, you can't really say ever again, basically like you can't say forever, because sooner or later these shorts get, shown. And I remember several times these animated shorts would get shown when I was a kid on TBS. I don't know how it happened, but it did. And then sooner or later, you would have public domains, and even Warner Brothers themselves at times releasing these on DVD, if not Blu-ray. Now, and even on VHS, back when VHS was more relevant than anything. So, it kind of surprised me about some of these. I mean, one I knew about with Bugs Bunny. I knew about that one, and I think I knew of a few others. But I think the one thing Animat didn't mention very much was you still had these racially insensitive cartoons still be shown even up into the 80s. Yeah, United Artists took them off and everything, but when we got into the 80s and everything, I don't know how it happened, but somehow Warner Brothers and MGM and, channels like TBS and TNT and whoever, they were able to get their hands on them, and they were able to show them on television. And that's how I remember watching some of them. So, again, you can't say ever again, you can't say forever, because you should know sooner or later those, things that are banned, things that are locked up, never to be shown again, are going to be shown. There's no doubt about it. And I thought in response, not in any order, but I thought I'd kind of list a number of cartoons from modern times, not the past, but more in the past 20-something years, that have had episodes banned because of their insensitivity or because of the subject matter. Now, Japan, of course, I was surprised Pokemon made the list because of what happened with the Pokemon episode. I was surprised that, Animat added that, and I was thinking, well, why would he add Pokemon? I know there was some racial insensitive stuff, or people felt was racially insensitive, that they had to recolorize or dub over or just edit out entirely. So, I wasn't surprised with that. I mean, I was surprised, but some of the clips he showed before he got to the topic as to why Pokemon was on the list, it didn't really surprise me, but it kind of did. Now, like I said, there were clips of Tiny Toons and some other shows that they were talking. That he showed when he was talking about this top 10, when he was presenting this top 10 countdown. And that was my dog. When they were presenting this this top 10 countdown, And like I said, if you hear anything in the background, I apologize. Um, so so in response, I decided, like I said, no order in particular, to kind of list off some other cartoons in the past 20 years or so that I know of, that I've watched, and I know a lot of you have watched, that have had episodes banned completely, if not temporarily, off television. So with that said, let's take a look at Warner Brothers. Now, Warner Brothers obviously won won the category of number one with its as being part of the censored 11, if you will. I think that's what it's called, censored 11. So Warner Brothers kind of took the spot there because let's not kid ourselves. When Warner Brothers came out back in Warner Brothers' day with the animation style of Bob Clampett and Tex Avery and a few others like Freaks Freely and a few more, they did take shots. Now, during the Second World War, it was common, I guess, for any American animation studio, whether it was Warner Brothers or Disney, to, take shots at the Japanese and the Germans, and even make fun of the African Americans, the black people. So it was, it was commonplace at the time, and it was acceptable. When you read up on it, it was very acceptable back in the day. So like I said, it was very acceptable back in the day. But even in today's society, you're bound to get a few episodes or shows or whatever that are, even from Warner Brothers, that even though they're trying to teach a lesson, which this was, even though it was trying to teach a lesson, was never seen again. And I don't even think it's on the DVD releases. If it is, it's a miracle. If it's not, then that kind of shows you the strong subject matter of this episode. Now of this episode and the short that's part of the episode. Now, basically the episode is from Tiny Toon Adventures and has to do with elephant issues, like peer pressure. And the episode and the short that's a part of this episode was called One Beer. Now you could watch this episode here on YouTube or even Daily Motion and see probably exactly why and probably see exactly why it was taken out of circulation. Basically, the premise is because it has to deal, it falls in line with the elephant issues subject of their episode, has to deal with the peer pressure of trying one beer. That, okay, you're a teenager, in which these characters were portrayed as, and the peer pressure, the elephant issue, the peer pressure that they were trying to get across was teens are always going to pressure you into doing something that you've never done or you feel is wrong. So basically, this one episode called One Beer depicted what the effects were. The effects would be if you started drinking and you got a liking for it. Now, did they go a little overboard at times? Yeah, because not one beer is gonna, let's be honest, gonna really affect a teenager that much. They might, if they're not used to it, because they might just throw it up and that's it. They might not like the taste. But still, the lesson that they were trying to get across was one beer could lead to two, two can lead to four, four can lead to eight. You get the idea. So, basically the ending of this episode has the characters of Buster, Plucky, and Hampton so wasted off their mark that they try to drink and drive, which is another lesson they threw in there. Basically, you don't drink and you don't drive at the same time. And by drinking and driving, they basically end up driving off a cliff to their death. Now, there was a scene when they're driving and they're trying to get control of the car because I think they're realizing the out of control that flashes with them turning into skeletons temporarily and then back to normal. Or when they fall, I don't know whether it's them falling off the cliff or whatever. But they turn, basically it's just a short sequence that they turn to skeletons. And I think it's right when they fall off the cliff. And then as they fall off the cliff and crash the car and basically fall to their death, you see them flying up into the air as little angels. And then you see that it's basically trying to get a message across. And that message is, drinking, don't start drinking. Don't drink ever, because one beer could lead to many. But it was because of the subject matter, and I guess the way Warner Brothers and Steven Spielberg depicted it in this short, that this one short was taken out of circulation. So if you watch Elephant Issues, and because of this one, and here's the thing, if you try to watch Elephant Issues, if you try to see if it's going to be either on the DVD sets or if it's going to be aired ever or whatever, you're not going to see it in circulation. Because of this one episode, the Elephant Issues, because of this one short, I should say, the Elephant Issues episode was banned from television. It was. The Elephant Issues deal was banned from television because of this one episode. Now, Tiny Toons has also had several other episodes banned as well. Believe it or not, the Crypt Keeper episode, where they had Buster parody the Crypt Keeper, that, after its first initially airing on Fox, that was banned because it was deemed too scary, too dark and too scary. And then I think it's, hold on for a second, let me check. Sorry about that. I wanted to make sure something. But like I said, their parody of having the episode where they had Buster parody the Crypt Keeper was, like I said, deemed too scary and violent and dark, so it got banned. And then on top of that, the 27th episode of the first season, and I know this because the reason I went and checked something was I was checking the exact episode listing of where it was at on my DVD set. And the 27th episode of the first season, which was called Europe in 30 Minutes, this had been aired for, essentially in circulation since the show debuted. And it wasn't until Princess Diana's tragic death that this episode was pulled, this is the truth, pulled from circulation. And from what I remember, it only re-aired once when Cartoon Network had the rights to air Tiny Toon Adventures. But it's the truth. I mean, if you were watching